About to roll the dice, that's why all my life I've been grinding all my life, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle pay the price. Wanna slice, about to roll the dice, that's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Grind, where my goal is to highlight our Pasifika athletes and share their story of how they got to where they are now. We have an amazing guest with us today. I am so excited for him to share his story with us all. He is a sprinter. In high school, he was named to the USA Today All-USA High School Track and Field team. In college, he was a four-time NCAA Division I All-American. He set records at the University of Colorado in the indoor and outdoor 200 meters. He competed for Samoa in the 200 meters at the 2015 World Championships in Athletics in Beijing. He qualified to represent Samoa at the 2016 Summer Olympics. During his career, his highest achievement was being ranked 5th in the world. And it is my honor to introduce Jeremy Dodson.
Oh, thank you, Serafina. It's a pleasure to be on there.
Well, of course. Yeah. I'm just, like I said, I'm so excited to dive into your story today. And, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for even looking me up and deciding I can fit on your show with your amazing guests.
Like I said, you have an amazing story. But I know that you're currently in Switzerland. What are you doing out there?
So I just randomly, I started preseason in October, training for hopefully my third and final Olympics, wanted to close out my career. And I got a call from the International Olympic Committee saying they want to hire me for a position or have me fill a position out here. First, I thought it was a joke and I kind of brushed it off, but then I went through the interview process and tried to entertain the whole thing. And next thing I know, I'm out here in Switzerland working for the International Olympic Committee.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, how long have you been out there?
I actually just got out here. So I start, first day is actually tomorrow. Well, first official day is tomorrow. I got out here February 2nd, had to quarantine for about 10 days because I'm coming from the US. And so the past few days, I'm able to reintroduce myself back to Lausanne and have fun for a little bit. And now tomorrow I get back to work.
Oh, that's great. And how's the lifestyle out there?
It's very calm and very, very much like Colorado. If everyone's been to Colorado, everyone is active. Sunday, everything is closed down, but everyone is outside walking around. It could be 20, 30 degrees outside, but yet still it doesn't stop anyone from going for a walk around the lake. And it's pretty amazing. It gives you a different type of energy.
Oh, that's great. One of these days I will make my way to Switzerland, so I definitely need to. But, just reading about you and doing my research, you have such an amazing story. And, I'm just curious, and I want to start off by, how did running come into your life, track and field? How did that start for you?
I always say like running's or this track and field life is, you never choose this life. It kind of just chooses you.
Mm-hmm.
We started off super young. Our dad was a track coach. And so we go to football practice, we go to baseball practice, basketball practice. And then in the summertime, we just run track just to stay busy and stay off the streets and just to stay active. And so we've been running since we were 3-4 years old. Competitively, we've been running since we were 6. And then it kind of just falls into your lap. And next thing you know, you're going to Olympics, running full speed for a whole country. And it's something that you never guessed a long time ago, because it's in the United States, it's just something that's not a real sport. It's always seen as a hobby. And so your goal is to become a football player or become a basketball player and go to the NFL or NBA. And life has a way of kind of redirecting you into something maybe even better.
Yeah, no, definitely. But how old were you when you felt that, like, you can go to college and do this, like, this is for real? How old were you when you discovered that?
I guess I say I was maybe like a sophomore or junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I broke my arm. I was very fragile in football, but I love football. All my older brothers or my older cousins and my brother, they were great football players. And so I was always there with them. And I was just super fragile. I always broke my arm. I broke a rib. I broke everything you can. And then I guess senior year, I kind of was trying to stay in shape for football, but end up doing a lot more training for track. And next thing you know, you just explode and you end up breaking old Colorado state records in the 100, 200, 400 meters, and you get college scholarships from literally every country, every school in the country. And you kind of have to take that path. And
Yeah, no, and I know now, like talking about like the recruiting process, you mentioned that you're getting so many offers, but I know that you attended your first year at University of Arkansas and then decided to transfer. So what made you want to, transfer back to Colorado? But then what made you choose the University of Arkansas?
well, first, I wasn't even planning on going to school. Not to say that like education was a huge part. Our mom, our dad, they really push the fact that academics is a huge thing, and you should always get your education. I graduated with a 4.7 GPA in high school, and tutored all the AP classes and tutored all the accelerated IB courses. But I've never saw myself as going to college, mainly because it costs money.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't doing football to get a scholarship, then I'm not going to pay for college that way. And so it never crossed my mind to go to school until junior, senior year, when you're getting calls every other day or 5 times a day from schools wanting you to run track for them. And so I kind of brushed it off. I entertained everything. I answered phone calls. I looked at letters. I went on visits, and then it was kind of last minute. I went to a track meet, a high school invitational in New Mexico, and I had an old friend who's from North Carolina. He was ranked number 1 in high school, or number 1 world junior at the time, and I was number 3 world junior at the time. And so we kind of talked to each other, and he kind of recruited me and said like, "Hey, let's go to Arkansas." And so at that time I was like, "Sure, let's go to Arkansas." I never been to Arkansas, kind of didn't know how to get there, but it's like, hey, let's do it. And then I became an Arkansas Razorback. I was a freshman national All-American, or I was actually a freshman national champion. And so it was a great experience. I got to train with professional athletes. I got to train with other great athletes. But it was unfortunate that my coach at the time was going through a legal battle with the United States. And so he was getting indicted for mail fraud, money embezzlement, all sorts of other stuff while he was at Barton Community College. And so there was talks about us losing our scholarship all there. And so that's when you're trying to make a move. Like, I have to go somewhere else, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. And so originally I was talking to UCLA and Texas A&M to transfer to, because at the time you couldn't transfer within conference.
Oh, okay.
But so you can transfer out of conference and still not have to lose that eligibility. And so I had to transfer out the SEC, and so I was looking at Big 12 and Pac-12, and I didn't get my release from Arkansas until a week before school started. And at the time I was in Denver. The University of Colorado was 20 minutes away. And so I kind of just drove up there and knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I'd like to run for you guys. You guys have a spot?" And next thing you know, I finished out my collegiate career at the University of Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, being a 4-time All-American, it's just you accomplished so much in college, but like how did you in college, how were you able to sustain your success and still be great throughout? Like, what was how was that for you? How did you approach every meet? Just are you able to just dive into that process of how you just had so much success in college?
College for American kids is definitely a learning experience. So it's definitely an experience in itself. You're away from home. You're you're paying your own bills somewhat. You're on your own schedule. You can go to class, you can not go to class. But it's up to you. And so I think it was more so we were just raised handling your business. Our parents were divorced. My mom was always working, and so we walk home from elementary school, unlock the door, lock the door behind us, and make our own food. And so it was kind of ingrained early on to take care of yourself, or else you're going to be struggling for a while. And so going to college, that part was pretty easy. And then you learn to just value what's been given to you. And so if a team's going to give you a full ride there, then they want you to do a job. And so the basis is do your job, and after that you can have fun. And so you get there and you do your job, and you just don't want to embarrass yourself at the end of the day. You kind of want to go there and you want to make the best of it. You don't want to leave any regrets. You don't want to leave with any what ifs. And so you kind of just lay it on the table and see whatever you have to give, and you just challenge yourself.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry, like, who's someone? Is it your mom or your dad?
So my mom is Samoan. She was born and raised in the village of Malia. And so she came out here with cousins and families when she was in high school, and she's been here ever since.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you guys like, are you really close? Are you really close to your mom?
Oh, of course. So before we even left, or before I left to come here in Switzerland, me and my brother ended up getting a big house together, and we didn't want our mom to be alone. And so we kind of moved her in, and she's been there taking care of us. We've been taking care of her, and we have cousins, we have uncles down the street. And so it's a true Samoan household.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, I mean, do you like Samoan food? Do you eat Samoan food?
She was the cook, and so we ate whatever she ate, and so that's all we know.
Oh, no, that's so awesome. But now just diving, now going, from college to just where you're at now, are you able to just dive into, after you graduated college, what was next for you? What what was the process that was next for you?
So me, I'm definitely an introvert, and I overplan, I overthink, and so I always had a plan A, B, C, and D. But at the end of the day, you kind of just go with the flow too. And so my collegiate career was coming to an end. It was a somewhat successful career. I was fairly injured a lot, and so I didn't ever think of even going to the Olympics or becoming pro until, I guess, you make it to your last season. You make it, and you should have been a national champ to finish up the career, and so that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And so after I finished my undergrad, I ended up going to law school at the University of Colorado. And so while at law school, I continued to help out and coach and train the collegiate kids at the University of Colorado. And so I was still very active with them and still going to school. And that year kind of exploded my professional career. I ended up making the 2011 World Championship team for Team USA, and to make any type of Team USA team is a feat in itself. They always say that the USA team is the hardest team to make, because you have, just to qualify for the USA Championships is harder than the standards for the Olympics, or harder than standards for the World Championships itself. So to make that team kind of solidified my next route and what I want to take. And you get offers from Nike and Adidas, and you kind of just take that. And so after I finished my undergrad, I kind of filled the role of seeing how this professional career can go, and that's where it took me.
Wow, that is amazing. Now being able to have that opportunity to represent USA, how was that feeling?
At the time, it was incredible. You feel like you're on top of the world. In Europe, where most of our competitions are, and where track and field is a huge thing. You're celebrities. You get off the plane and you're chauffeured all around. You get to visit countries people have never even heard of. You get to go to Monaco, Luzerne. You get to go to Switzerland, Sweden. You get to see the world. And so it was incredible. And to say that you're a US athlete, like it's like saying you're with the Lakers or something. You're just a superstar, and you go to world championships and cameras are on you just because you have a USA bib on. And it it was something else. You felt like a rock star at the time.
Do you just have like a story where you're like in awe, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, just, I don't know, do you have a moment or a story that you're just in awe?
Nah, no, like I'm kind of low key. I'm in the back, and
Yeah.
so a lot of people would see other people, or they're running next to Usain Bolt and be in awe about him, and I was kind of just low key, and I just kind of absorbed it all. And yeah, it's, I guess maybe when I'm old and sitting in my wheelchair, I'll tell some stories of when I was amazed by something. But as of now, I'm just kind of just absorbing it and enjoying it.
I know, and thank you for just for mentioning that, because that's true. That's just awesome. But just like from my own experience, like just playing basketball, like I know how important it is, to become the best that you can be, is just like focusing on the process, getting reps in, for me, getting in the gym. Are you able to talk about the process, it takes to be where you are, of just being the best that you can be? Like, how does that grind, and how does that process, look like for you, or just a sprinter? Because I'm not familiar, I'm not too familiar. Are you just able to, like, give us like paint a picture for us of what that grind looks like for you?
So the grind. Everyone always asks like, "Oh, so you run for a living and you like to run and you run all day?" And no, I don't like to run at all. And like I said, it kind of just chose me. But what I do love about track and field is how it kind of prepares you for life. And so track and field is more about, or being a sprinter is more than just running fast for a few reps and taking a break and going to lift weights. It's, I always say it's about the little things. And so there's so much technique, there's so much physics that goes into a simple step, a simple push. There's so many phases, there's so many physical attributes that go into training to be a great sprinter. Because I guess in the race of 10 seconds, there's a millisecond can make a huge difference between winning a medal and not even making the finals. And so when it comes down to that and how fast the race is, the smallest of details matter. And so I guess a typical day would be, um, everything is based on something else. There's an acceleration, there's maximum velocity, there's speed endurance, there's weight training, there's a lot of things going on. And so say if today was a Monday, an acceleration day, it'd be all about power and explosiveness. And so in the morning you'll go for, or when I was young and very able to do it, in the morning I go for some hills in the morning before I either go to class or go to work. I do a set of hills. I come home, eat breakfast, eat certain foods, go to class, and I'll come home, come back for a track session where you would do a lot of technique work, a lot of horizontal force application, and be about focusing on that first 30 meters of a race, focusing on that first 40 meters of a race, what your body is doing, how your body feels, and the position of your legs, your limbs, and you do all that, and then you finish off with a weight session. So maybe a 2 hour hill day, go to practice, or go to school, go to class, go to work, come back, go to another 2.5 hour track session, and then you finish off with maybe a 45-minute weight session. Everything revolved around that theme of the day. Then you come back the next day, you have another theme where be maximum velocity, where it's upright running. You're focusing on how your foot strike on the ground and how you're pushing, where your hips are. And so every day is different, and every day calls for something else different. And so there's that physical attribute, and then track and field is a lot of mental training as well. And so you can be the best athlete in the world, but you get up to that line at the Olympic Games and you can't calm your nerves. That can change your whole race up. in an instant.
Yeah, I mean, can you just touch on that, like the mental
Sure.
aspect of what would you do? Like, was there like breathing techniques, or was like little meditation? Like, was there something that you did to prepare for a track meet? And like, are you able to touch on that? But then I like want you to touch on just how important like the mental aspect is as well.
Oh, it's huge. It's like they literally say it's 90% of the race. Uh, so for me, when I was younger, I kind of just relied more on my physical. I was never great at practice, but it didn't say I didn't try. I always got beat at practice. I was always bent over. I was the weakest in the weight room. But when it came to the meet, when that gun went off, or the 5 minutes when you're setting your blocks up, something else just clicked, and you kind of went to a different place, and it made the whole difference. And that's probably something you can't teach as a coach, but you can teach yourself. You kind of just you go to a different place and you find out what matters to you, and that just that mindset of intentionality and motivation is it's a huge thing, and it goes a long way, just not even in sports but in real life. And so as I got older, I would do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of visualization. I'd even write out like my whole routine so that everything is planned, and that there aren't any surprises. But even if there are surprises, you're prepared, you're ready to do this, because that's kind of how life goes. You can plan, you can over plan, you can double plan, but when something comes in, you kind of have to make sure you're ready to go. And that's a mindset. Like, you can either crumble or you can move on and say, like, no, this is not a failure, this is a learning, this is a step, and I'm going to push forward with this is going to be the new route now. And a lot of people have trouble rearranging that in their mind. And so to step back and to practice that, to exercise the muscle of the brain, is a huge thing that we often neglect. And it's a huge thing that makes a difference in sports and in life.
No, at 100%, I totally agree. And and something that because I'm totally into podcasts, and there's this one guy, he said, failure is feedback. And
Yes.
yeah, failure is feedback. And I'm like, wow. But it's like the mental aspect of like just being in a sport is just so important. I wish that I was able to apply. I didn't realize how important it was when I was in college. There's times where like anxiety would come in, or like thinking and like mess up. Like it's so real, because then it's like, so you just feel your body. And yeah, but I know that, especially, being a sprinter, I know like that, like visualization and how important that is. But now I want to talk about the condition that you have, which is hydrocephalus. And are you just able to go into detail about what that is?
Of course. So hydrocephalus is just more so water in the brain. But the condition that a lot of people suffer by is that the fluid in the brain is unable to drain correctly down through the spine and rotate back and forth throughout the brain. And so mine is very, very minimal. I think I developed it when I was maybe a teenager or whatever it was. I found out I had that when I had a million migraines in a day. And so as a young kid, like, oh, having migraines is kind of a sign that something else is going on. And so we went through and we found out that like the spinal fluid wasn't draining properly and from my brain through my spine. And so although it's not an issue, it can put a lot of pressure on the brain. And so the hydrocephalus was not a bad thing. It was what it did to my brain. 2011, I went through a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and I ended up aggravating a cyst in my brain. And that cyst kind of did a lot of things on the brain. And I ended up going through, in order to alleviate that cyst and all the pressure in the brain, I didn't want to go through surgery because pretty certain that anytime you touch the brain, you're not going to come out the same way as you went in. And so instead, we end up trying chemotherapy. So I only did about 8 rounds of chemo that year. And it reduced the size of the cyst, but the cyst was still there. But I was able to move and to live a somewhat normal life at the time. But you still have to monitor it throughout the years, and sometimes it comes out. But I tried to stay on top of nutrition and everything else, and it wasn't until 2019 summer where it was a long stint. I went to Oceanias in Australia. I went to Pacific Games in Samoa, and then I came back, and it was a very intense tour, if you would say. I came back home, and I could not move. I woke up one day and had the worst headache ever, and it lasted for about a month straight. And so we went in, and they said it was just a bad migraine, but it got to the point where I needed another round of chemo. And so I went through, starting 2020, December of 2019, January 2020, I started another 10 rounds of chemotherapy, and went through all that, just finished it up. And after finishing, I said, I want to try one more Olympics and finish off this athletic career. And since then, I've been staying vigilant with my nutrition and staying on top of my health. I've been on a lot of medication still, but so far it's been going so good.
No, that's just so awesome. And I want to point out something that I read. And I just want to say how inspirational this is. So it said that while still competing and qualifying for the World Championships and Olympics, you underwent chemotherapy and radiation. Like while doing that, going through chemotherapy and radiation, but still qualifying for the Olympics and the World Championships. Like that is just so inspirational. Like that's amazing. My question, just how was that going through that? How was that time for you? What was your thought process every day? What was just your motive? Like what was just motivating you? Yeah.
Well, when I first went in and doctors seen, so 2011, when I first went in, doctors seen what was going on and the location of the cyst, they kind of were amazed at the fact that I was able to move, nonetheless, move at elite speed that I was doing. And so I kind of just seen that as a sign from God, like, yeah, I still got you, and I want you to take this path for a reason. And so my mindset was, I'm gonna continue to move, because running and doing track is what's saving me right now. It's keeping me alive. And if this is keeping me alive, and then this is maybe the route that God wants me to take. And so my mindset wasn't overcoming or facing adversity. It was, I'm trying to do what God wants me to do. And so I once I finished, I had my mindset like, well, the next step, I'm going to practice. I'm going to make this Olympic team. It wasn't more so to become a news story or to become a hero. It was just something that you knew you were supposed to do. It's not a lot of times you get these signs to point you that where you're supposed to go in life, but when you do get those signs, you kind of want to take it and be full on with it and commit to it. And so that's just kind of what I've been doing. This hasn't been like the most glamorous track and field professional career. You don't get NFL money, and you're hustling, you're working 5 jobs on the side. And so I've definitely wanted to stop and start a real life and work a real job, but somehow it's just something's keeping me in here. And I have to explain to a lot of people, like, I don't know why I'm still running, but this is the only thing that feels good at the time. And so that's why I'm still running, still doing track. And if people get inspired by the story, then that's incredible. If I make millions of dollars and I can pay for a house for my mom, that's even better.
Oh my God, no, that's so I know it's just so inspiring, you know, and it's like I just want you to know that just by me reading your story, that it was just like wow, like this is why I want you on this show, you know, and this like really just tell your story and gosh, and it's just very, very inspirational. But now
I appreciate that.
now representing Samoa, like that time, you know, representing Samoa in the Olympics, you know, how was that? And like the Pan American Games, how was that? Just representing Samoa, you know, can you just dive into that?
Well, so you say like, how was it representing USA at the
Yeah,
time?
yeah,
At the time, it was amazing. You're an all-star. You're wearing this USA bib. You get to put on some sunglasses and you get to swipe off people. But then you don't realize how much it didn't really mean anything to anybody until you represent a country like Samoa. And so you go to originally I was trying to transfer to Australia because that's where the majority of my family is. They all moved from Samoa to Australia and New Zealand. And so I was gonna go there and try to run for their team. But somehow it fell into the hands of Samoa and they accepted it and kind of just went with the flow. And at the time didn't know what to expect. It was kind of difficult to get started, but then 2015, the World Championships in Beijing was the first competition I represented Samoa, and on the way up there, I got a million Facebook messages because that's how Samoans message you. A million Facebook messages that from people I didn't even know, but from people who were proud of just what I did and for choosing to represent Samoa, just for making it there. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't run a race yet, but they were already proud of what I've done, and I never got that from representing USA. I was just when you're representing USA, you're kind of just another person with a USA in your chest, and you're pretty expendable because if you don't make it, we got another person right behind you, and then 5 other people behind them that are ready to take their place. And so it wasn't meaningful, and so representing Samoa gave me a different meaning, gave me different motivation to continue to run. It made it more than just about myself, but it made it more for people, and it gave me purpose to run for Samoa. And that's kind of why I want to finish off the career on a right note. Like you said, I've had high rankings in the past, but that's when I was USA. And ever since I represent Samoa, I feel like I've never lived out my true potential, maybe because I'm getting older and injuries occur, but I kind of want to give Samoa what they deserve and represent them well.
That is no, that is just so phenomenal, you know, and just like thank you, you know, for because like I said, like in your like before, like when we were talking, you don't see a lot of Samoans running track, you know, you don't see that. Because Lord knows I can't rely on my, you know, no. This is like basketball was a lot of running, but track no. But it's like, you know, you just don't see people like you and like anyone like anyone like in our community that wants to run track. Like that's why like this is so important to share your story. And but like what has, you know, even like representing USA or just like throughout your track career, like what has being someone meant for you?
Oh, you tend to realize how important, I guess, you are as a person, and you tend to realize what is important being human. Um, I guess to reiterate, I've learned a lot about my family back in Samoa. I learned a lot about the culture back in Samoa, and you can be talked about it while you're here in the States. You can hear the stories from your mom and your parents because we all know how Polynesian parents are. They love to tell stories and they love to really extend some truths, and so it goes in one area out the other, but you really learn the culture of just humanity when you go back to something like that, whether it's in Samoa or in Fiji or in the Marshall Islands, when you go back to those small islands, you learn how to be a human, and to yeah, I guess that was the biggest thing I've gained, and the biggest thing I always hold for just represent Samoa, and and being around all those oceanic islands. It's yeah, you learn the culture of humanity.
No, that's amazing. But I know like when you were talking about like the condition that you have, like hydrocephalus, and you said like you didn't see it as, adversity or anything, but would you feel that, talking to you, I feel that you're like, I don't know, you just overcome hard things in your life, you just overcome. But like, it's like, like in a point in your career, was there a time where you felt like you did hit adversity, like where it was a tough moment for you?
Um, I guess I'd say right now it's always going to be like the latest obstacle that you're occurring at that very moment. That's going to be the toughest moment. And so I guess going through another set of chemo, when they tell you that, oh, we didn't get it the first time, and it's kind of coming back, and they kind of attack it again, you're kind of doubting like, "Ooh, are we doing something wrong or
Yeah.
something going right?" And so I guess this is going to be like the most adverse situation that I would have to go through. So I guess I'm currently going through that at the moment, and being older, with the 2020 pandemic, the Olympics games has been postponed. How and what am I going to take from this moment of training, and going through this journey athletically, and then getting a new job in a position that can help out a lot of people. Who else can say they work at the International Olympic Committee? And so that this is going to be a point of trust in the path and trust in the journey that God has instilled for you. And so, do I focus on this job? Do I finish out this career? And I'm pretty sure God is going to equip me with anything I can do at the moment. But you kind of want to make the right choice. And I guess this is probably going to be the most adverse situation I'm going through and will face. And hopefully we'll all see how it turns out at the end.
Oh, of course, but do you have like like what is your thought process of like, going through this time? What motivates you every day, to keep going? And, just like what is your mindset, in terms of tough moments, in terms of challenges?
I guess knowing that the journey is so much more worth it than the result. In track and field, like you always want that result, you always want that medal. But then when you look back, that medal means more when you look back and seeing the days that you grinded, and the things that you learned, and the adversity you overcame. And so it wasn't the medal that made it worth it. It was the journey that really gave substantial evidence that you were on the right path. And so at this very moment, I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to just enjoy what comes, and that's what's getting me through. I'm journeyed across the ocean to Switzerland right now. I'm journeying to hopefully Tokyo. This journey is taking me a lot of places, and so that's the thing keeping me on it right now. Not the result, the journey, and hopefully each day I just take and absorb it all.
No, that's amazing. And something that like I've figured out too and discovered is that, through the journey and like the process, that's where your character is built. Like that's
Yeah.
where, like that's, yeah, like who you become is through that process of like tough times and tough moments. Um, but gosh, just like, something like that you mentioned, how important, especially being a runner, how important is nutrition? How important is stretching? Like all of that, getting rest. How important is that?
It's like I said, the little things are what makes, or what adds up to huge results. And so um, practice and training isn't over the moment you leave the track. Your recovery, your mental recovery, your what you eat, like the food that you eat is your fuel. And if you put, like they always say, if you put Ford Taurus gas into a Porsche, like it's not going to perform like a Porsche. And so you kind of want to put some Porsche gas in there and treat it like a Porsche. And in your body, for in track and field, like you don't necessarily have a ball or a court. You kind of just have your legs and your arms, and you kind of just run. And so these are my tools. And if I don't take care of my tools, and then I'm not going to be a great mechanic. And so recovery is huge. Nutrition is huge. The things you choose to do, like you can go out late at night if you want, you can go party if you want, but the next day you'll feel it in practice, and maybe that practice won't be worth it. And so track and field, we're training from October all the way to the summer games in August, September. And so we have a month off to do nothing. And so to say that we train for so long means that like every day actually counts. And if you waste a day, then it's kind of a ripple effect all the way down the line. And so you kind of want to stay on top of everything, and the little things matter.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's just about making sacrifices, I feel, as well, to really get to where you want to go. Just like, what is your message of hope to people that want to be successful in life, or that want to be where you're at? What is your message what is your message to them?
Oh, shoot. My message, if I were to say to myself, what's my message of hope is that you've already succeeded. Now we're just trying to live that success day by day. And so if I say that to myself, that I've already succeeded, then the pressure is off already, and I'm more confident in what I want to do, and then I can drive forward knowing that the path is already cleared, the roadblocks is already taken care of, and so I can just move forward and focus on what I really want to do. And so a message of hope is that you've already succeeded. You already have the tools to do this, and now the only job to do is to do it.
No, that's great. No, thank you for that. And then just at the end of this, and then just at just the end of your career, what do you want to be remembered as, and what do you want your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be?
I guess the introvert and the low key person in me doesn't want to be remembered at all. But I want to step back and see other people do what I inspired them to do. I want to see people watch me and say, because of you, I did this, and I went on to break world records. Because of you, I chose to do this, and I became a doctor, and I became this lawyer. Like, I don't want to be a legacy that people are hanging my jersey on the wall. I want to be just the conduit to push people to be their amazing selves. And that's what I want to do. I want to sit in my old chair and see like they did well for themselves, or they're changing the world. That's what I want to do.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And to be honest, like, you are doing that, and like, thank you for continuing to do that, to live this life where you are inspiring me, you are inspiring others. But another question, what I'm just curious to like, what like professional athletes, have you like had the opportunity to, to work with, like,
To work with. So I do end up coaching a lot of NFL players, and so
oh wow.
players like Demarius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Benny Fowler. I coach a lot of NFL players, and so I kind of don't see professional athletes like on another pedestal. I just kind of see them as other people, and so yeah, I haven't worked with many, but I've seen a lot. I've seen going to Olympics. I've seen Kobe in action. I've seen LeBron in action. I've seen Serena Williams in action. To step back and to watch them do their craft, and to sit back and watch them be human is like an incredible experience that in itself. Like, I don't want to go talk to them. I want to just see them do them, because just them doing them is an amazing thing. That's I guess
Yeah.
That's
No, that's
that's
amazing. Oh, like I'm a big Kobe fan, and I love
yeah.
LeBron and Serena Williams. But like just to like be up close and like to be able to watch them, that's just amazing. But so we're just in the home stretch of things and of this interview, and I'd love to do some rapid fire questions. So the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. What is your favorite song right now?
Drake, Do Not Disturb.
Okay. Do you have a favorite artist?
I do not, but it's really the artist of the day. I love all types of music. I love great music, but right now I don't have an artist in mind right now.
Okay. Your favorite moment that you've had in your career?
Making the 2011 World Championships for USA. It was more so seeing other people so excited. Not necessarily me making the team, it was just seeing how excited everyone else was.
Okay. What show are you currently binge watching?
So I'm watching The Crown on Netflix. I saw a clip of Princess Diana, and she's one of the people I want to sit down and talk with, if ever, never, later on, maybe in another life. But I saw a clip of that, and I really want to learn more about her. So I'm watching The Crown, and I started from season 1 and slowly getting down to season 4.
No, that's awesome because now our last rapid fire question. If you could have dinner with four goats, like sitting at the same table, have some wine, have some food, four goats. It could be anyone. Who would these four people be?
Oh, so I guess Princess Diana is already number 1 or on the list. Kobe would be on the list. His mindset and just his mentality. I don't want to talk to them. I just want to listen to them talk.
Yeah.
Kobe, I want to listen to Elon Musk talk. I don't want to interview him. I just want to see how his brain works. Elon Musk, Obama, and then obviously you want to sit down and chat it up with Jesus Christ.
Oh, of course, amen to that. No, those were so first of all, like that sounds like a great dinner. But no, sorry, last question, like with Kobe, what are your thoughts on Kobe? Because I love Kobe, so just hearing you talk about his mentality, has he like meant something for you in your career, or like what are your thoughts on Kobe?
Everyone used to say I resembled Kobe through my work ethics and just how I carried myself. I'd go to Beijing, I go to China all the time, and they always, since I'm tall and black, they always think I'm Kobe, and so they call me Kobe, and so I hated it at the time. But you can't not respect his game and his work ethics, how he pushed himself through whatever, and how he was an all-star from a great team with Shaq to a team that had nobody, and he still carried them. So he was the Tom Brady of basketball, essentially. But it was more so, it was not about his athletic ability, but it was about the journey that he put himself through. He was a superstar high school athlete, all in fame, and then he evolved into a person that was very introspective and very aware of everything else going around him. And he became a father. He was more just than a superstar athlete. He was a father. He was a coach. It was his journey that I really respected and admired, and I can't wait until they do the documentary of him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, moment mentality, that's something that I really want to, like, I try to instill into my life. But, Jeremy, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on my show. And, having you on, like, I want your story to inspire and give hope to anyone listening. Show them that they can achieve anything they set their mind to by putting in the work and just committing and dedicating to themselves to become the best that they can be, and just trusting the process. Thank you all for tuning in to Inside the Grind. And again, thank you so much for joining me, Jeremy.
Grinding on my life, sacrifice, hustle, baby, price. Want a slice. Got the roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.